Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about pet grief and pet loss. It might be quite triggering for any of you who've recently lost a pet or even had a very special animal in your life a long time ago. But that's okay. It's okay to be triggered sometimes by this. It's just the emotion coming out, and it's all very normal. I had a bit of a morning to myself thinking about Sky, who I lost, so this episode should help you to grieve your pet and find resources really, and know that it's normal, is what we're just discussing. Sky really was a wonderful dog. I had her 10 years. She was an ex-racing greyhound, and she came with me everywhere. We moved to France, had a baby, still kept her. She helped me learn about dogs. She was my little test dog, if you like. She had to go through me learning all my new things, the good and the bad. She was exceptionally patient, very balanced. Didn't really matter what happened. She was always stable, unless fireworks. That was her thing. She did not like loud noises. So she was just a really wonderful being, very forgiving, very tolerant, and spent a decade with me, and all my memories are really tied up in her. So this episode is particularly close to my heart.
Hi Erica, how are you today? Thanks for joining me.
Well, I'm good, Tilly. Thank you for having me so that we can talk about this important topic and normalize pet loss grief.
Yeah, it's funny that this has happened really because I lost Sky the greyhound in, I think it was July, and I thought it was strange because I was really prepared for her loss, if you like, because she was 14 and a half. So I knew it was coming for years potentially, but it was still really hard and it's still really weird without her. It's just, when she was gone, even the house seemed bigger, like infinitely bigger. It was really weird, and all she did was sleep. So it wasn't like she was bouncing around, being a huge personality. She was just asleep on the sofa, bless her. But yeah, it was hard. And one thing I do find, which actually I do want to talk to you, is I've almost got like survivor's guilt because I felt like I'm almost like I'm forgetting her, and I feel guilty and I worry that she doesn't want to be forgotten, and that's a weird concept. I don't know if that makes any sense to you or you, because obviously this is your topic.
The same thing happened to me this morning. So, Wolfgang, I would wake up and I would call him and he would come into bed. Now I have Vanilli Bear, Vanilli Bean, changes every day, who also does that, but she comes and gets in my armpit. And today I panicked because I couldn't remember what Wolfgang did when I called him. And then I went, oh yeah, he did what I called the dead drop. He just goes and stands next to me and just completely falls down. And I went, oh, thank God I remembered. And it reminded me that I need to write this down in his story. So it's something that I did right after he passed, and I wanted to write down all the memories and the things that were quirky and what I loved about him. So I just get to add to it, and that's okay. So I think it is important to write and record these things so we can let go and know that those memories are there for us to revisit anytime. And we can let go of the grief and the, like you said, survivor's guilt, or just holding on to the loss in an effort to remember them isn't healthy.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm glad you've said that, because those are the kind of things, I'm kind of, it's really strange because obviously I knew her so intimately. I kind of knew her whole bone structure, if you like.
Yeah.
And then I feel guilty, like, oh, I can't remember how her ankle felt or something. I never thought about writing it down. I think that's a really good idea. I think I'm going to do that with Sky, because I try to take videos and stuff, but it's not the same because there are those weird habits that they do. And I think part of losing a pet is that you feel like almost like your memories are gone, because she was with me for a decade and she was with me through some tough times in uni. It was just me and her, and then we moved to France and had to escape from France and all that. And so losing her almost felt like I'd lost that part of my life, even though it's been and gone. It was like, oh, all of that's gone, and now, what's new life going to be like? What's life after Sky?
Right.
It's really bizarre, isn't it?
It is. And I had that same experience with my first dog that I got as an adult, Sadie. She was a rescue. And she had been with me through, I mean, do any of us have a great productive time in our 20s where everything's perfect? No, it happens way later. So she was with me through all the ups and downs of figuring out like how to be independent in the world and what I want to do. And when she passed, it was like this gut wrench because there was a time where I was going through a really dark time, and she really saved my life. Mostly because I didn't want her to wake up and find me dead, and I don't mind talking about that. I know it's a little bit of a shock to some people, but I have mental health issues. Like I've been suicidal before. It's nothing I'm ashamed of. I think it gives other people permission to talk about their struggles openly. But anyway, that's another thing. So I think that what I've done to provide people a platform to write the story is I've got a free template, and it's this love letter. So it's got paw prints border, and you can just print that out from my homepage. You can print out 12 copies if you want, and laminate them or whatever you want to do. But also, just today, I added a journal, a pet loss journal, to my website, so that if anybody wants to like revisit this story, right? So my pages are full from like Wolfgang's letter. So I want to start having a book, right? And I can put those pages in the book, and it's this journal. So there's lots of ways, but maybe you already have a journal that you like and you want to add to. I just try to provide a lot of options for people because I don't know everything. Everyone is independent and processes their grief differently and wants to have different tools. So I just keep getting feedback and saying, okay, what don't I have that you need that I can make or provide? And when we've just grown so much in 2 years, it's really remarkable how much connection I've made with people around the world that are also suffering quietly.
Yeah, I look. You have got a lot of products, which is fantastic because it kind of satisfies everyone's different elements on what they want to do. Which is amazing. It's really unique. Your site is really unique, and what you do is it's amazing. What kind of inspires you? Did you feel, or do you still feel like people are grieving quietly, like they're not allowed to grieve a pet, even among animal people? I mean, pretty much all my friends are animally, but it's still, I feel it's still weird to say, oh, I really miss so and so today, because it's like, oh, it almost feels like, well, you've done that now, but it isn't.
Yeah, it's really sad, isn't it, that we have to make our friends and family and colleagues feel comfortable, even though we're not, because it's a pet. And so I'm really excited to have the challenge to overturn that and to change it in my lifetime, I hope. Because it's confusing for us. When I was a child, we had dogs. They lived outside. They had a dog house. We loved them, but they didn't sleep in our bed with us, and we didn't give them birthday parties. Okay. Now as an adult, that's like a common thing you see on Instagram every day. Thanksgiving for dogs is going to be everywhere, and it's adorable. But it shows how much we have changed our relationship with animals. And I'm just using dogs as an example because they are the most common. And so look at that. And so everything else has to change along with it, yet it hasn't. So we're still getting told, right? If you go out to brunch with your friends and it's been 2 years, oh, it's the anniversary of Wolfgang's death. I'm having a hard day. And what do people say to that haven't lost a pet, that don't understand that depth of the human animal bond and how special it is? They are going to say some stupid shit, excuse me. And it's not their fault, right? And so it's more about having a conversation in platforms like this, and thank you, because it can carry the message farther and wider that, instead just say, wow, that must be really hard for you. How can I support you today? What do you need to talk about? Do you need to tell me the story? Do we need to go and like shop for a candle that you can honor your pet with that's Sky, or just have a conversation, because these people care about us. They want us to feel better. They just sometimes say the wrong thing that actually ends up being hurtful. And I've had relationships damaged over silly things that people said, when I realized later they were just trying to be helpful in ways that they thought they were being helpful. Okay? So it's complicated now to express how we're feeling and feel unashamed to do it.
Yeah.
Tilly,
Yeah.
I have a lot of people whisper to me that they grieved their dog, the loss of their dog, more than a parent or close family member. And
Yeah.
it's totally okay. It doesn't mean you didn't love your mom.
Yeah.
That's not what we're saying. We live with our animals. We see their whole lifetime. We're with them 24/7. I haven't lived with my mom since I was 18, you know? So it's a different relationship. It's not
Yeah.
better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah. I think as well with a pet is that because you are that responsible person, you know, and you do see their life and you're pretty much, you know, depending on the animal, but you're pretty much in control of absolutely everything, and then they die. I think part of you feels almost like you failed. It's really strange, even though you know they're gonna die or you gave them the best care or whatever, it's their time. There's still a part of me that was like, oh, somehow she should still be here. She's not. They're not meant to kind of, you know, move on. It's a really weird concept because they're that ingrained with us, that they become, you know, mentally and emotionally they must become so much deeper than just a pet or just something that we have round the house. Yeah, I want to kind of know more actually about your dog that you lost, because you said you lost Sadie first, right? But you obviously didn't start on, well, I'm imagining you didn't start this business until him. It was a him, right?
No, it's actually Wolfgang. So Wolfgang was my COVID companion. He was a cat I adopted as a sick kitten during the pandemic. So not only did I nurse him back to health, but he was like my only friend. I'm in Germany and we moved here in March 2020. So I didn't know anybody.
Wow.
Like as a cat became my everything.
Yeah.
And you know, he died tragically and suddenly, a horrible thing that I don't even like to tell people because I don't want them to have the nightmares that I had. But it was the worst day of my life, and we'll just go with that. And so when I couldn't find, I knew I needed help, both for the trauma part and also just the devastating gap that there was all of a sudden, like a crack in the planet for me, that this thing is gone, this being is gone.
Yeah.
And I didn't know where to look. I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't find a lot of information. And so ultimately, I was so worried about my mental health that I sought out a counselor and then a pet loss counselor. And that pet loss counselor told me that everything I was experiencing and the depth of my pain was normal and that most people go through that. And I said, but I don't know anybody that's gone through that. No one has talked to me about this. I feel like I'm alone and I'm special and there's something wrong with me and I need help. And she said, no, it's unfortunately just not talked about. And that was like not okay with me. So I totally turned my life upside down with my mom and we started to do something about that because it's ridiculous that people are suffering that much and they're not having a platform to talk about it or have the resources that they need. And people are getting suicidal and killing themselves, and that's also not talked about and not okay.
Yeah.
So it's time to normalize pet loss grief and provide solutions for people, period.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I mean, when things do happen suddenly, it's just such a shock, and you have to grieve, and you need different mediums, I think, to grieve for. I mean, because you've lost dogs in the past, and Sadie was special as well, and you know you've lost animals and things. Did you this is going to probably sound a bit weird, but it should make sense. Did you know how to grieve? Was there any part of you done from your experiences before that helped with Wolfgang? No.
No, not at all, because no, we're not taught that. There's no book anywhere, there's no class in school or even university that says, hey, you're going to experience loss in your life, and here's how to do it in a healthy way without being damaged the rest of your life. So, you know, Sadie, I kind of just found a way to accept. You know, she was older, right? We had to put her down. It was like, wasn't a shock. It was still hard. And I wouldn't say Sadie was my soul dog, but we were very close.
Yeah.
Right? Best friends, right?
Yeah.
So Wolfgang was my soul cat.
Yeah.
And there's a difference there. And this is something I learned, that there is a difference. Other people, I got the name from someone else. They said, this is my soul dog. And I went, oh, I think that's what Wolfgang was.
Yeah.
So I wasn't prepared and I didn't know how to grieve, is the answer. And I had to learn how to do it where I wouldn't be that person that's stuck in their grief and doesn't have a joyful life after this event. I was like, that's not okay. I've got to find a way through this. I know other people have, but I also knew that worse things happened in the world, right? And people got through it. So I knew there was a way out. I just didn't know what that path was at the time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm, you know, I meet a lot of people now that kind of say, "Oh, I'll never have a dog again," or "I'll never have a horse again," because the grief is so much that they themselves can't take even owning a pet for, you know, 10 years, say, you know, because they can't, they don't know how to deal with that grief at the end, and they can't deal with it anymore. Um, you know, which makes sense if there's no resources. So I've lost a ton of pets. I've had loads of pets all my life, and I was always very arty. So I learned quite young to draw, and I'd write poems, and I found that really helpful, being able to kind of draw them in different ways. I mean, it was like teenage, so they'd like have wings on and stuff like that, of course, but it really helped. And you know, this time with Sky, I did a few drawings. I didn't want to do any painting, but I got somebody to make me a like a crocheted miniature greyhound, a little black greyhound that was personalized and stuff. And that was kind of sweet because I could hold it. It was something I could physically hold rather than look at. Oh, I've put a picture up there, I can look at it. It was something that I can just physically hold or carry around with me when I feel like I need to remember her. I mean, she's got a little memorial as well going up in the front doorway, which I guess I would assume people think, you know, might look mad, but it's got to be done. I feel like she's got to be remembered. She's got to be celebrated. She was a great dog. You know, she deserves that. Well, that's how I feel. You know, that's maybe I deserve it. Maybe it's actually me. I deserve to remember her. Maybe it's more about us than we realise.
I think it's both, and I encourage you to do whatever works for you, and without apologies or explanations to people you know, right? If they don't understand, that's their problem. You are on your path to healing, and this is what helps you. And if anybody really gives you flack about that, you might want to question your friendship. We shouldn't be ashamed to have. I know people that want to have their pets taxidermied. Great. If that's going to make you get through the rest of your life with having some joy and peace, then do it. If you want to have like a Day of the Dead shrine, or I know some people that in San Francisco wanted to just have the skeleton of their dog out with some of their Day of the Dead things, do it. You know, why are we looking for permission from strangers and acquaintances on what's okay for us to heal? So I love that you got something tactile. I myself got a stuffed kitten, just like a little plush toy that I could hold at night, that I, just like we're children, right? And I didn't need to broadcast it. I decided to because I wanted to give permission for people to go back to their childhood comforts.
Yeah.
You know, we all had teddy bears. We all did, or some kind of stuffed animal, which gave us comfort. So why wouldn't we want to do that as an adult? That doesn't mean that I'm crazy. It's a really good idea. So I'm so glad you found a way to have that, a little crochet toy, whatever is necessary, right? And so you and I sound like, I think you're a tactile person as well, which is why I made physical cards to read once a day, right? So there are different types of personalities and learning, and some people want videos and audio like what you're providing. So I think whatever solutions people are looking for, I want to be able to give them those, and have things that are not only free and accessible, but helpful.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think people when you're kind of pointing in this direction, and it can get confusing if people are saying you're almost not allowed to grieve because it's just X, Y, Z, or set a time limit on it, because there is no time limit. And I think as well, it's something that you go back to. So it's not necessarily that you grieve every single day, but some days are more difficult than others, or sometimes you're caught off guard. Like this morning when, you know, you kind of thought, oh God, what did Wolfgang do? And you kind of caught off guard in that moment, and it's like, oh, the guilt and the stress of it's almost like losing them again, right?
the panic. It was a panicky feeling of like, surely I can remember. What is it? And then I did. It just took a beat, right? Because it's been 2 years. And, and I have to say that with time, my wounds definitely healed. And I did what I was recommended to me by professionals to heal. I have scars on my heart and I'm proud of them because it shows how vulnerable I was and how much I loved. And the grief storms is what I like to call them, because when those waves of pain and suffering came over and you had to cry, I had to cry. They would pass and then they became less frequent, and they still come. They're just not as intense. It's not like a hurricane, right? Where you have to just stop, drop, and cover. And that's really what it's like the first couple of months. It's really bad. And I just have to say that if people are in that space and you have to be at a job, please confide in someone so that you can excuse yourself to the bathroom and have a few minutes and come back. Grief is grief. And I think we should be allowed the same sort of comforts and solutions and a lot of patience for when we've lost a loved one. There's like a recipe that we're given and permission slips were given to grieve a loss of a loved one, but not with a pet. And they're really the same. Grief is grief. We grieve, like, you and I in our 20s, we had breakups. We grieve those for days. They're very intense. They can be debilitating. But grief is grief, right? And we need to be careful with ourselves, be gentle and kind to ourselves, and allow whatever grief we're going through to heal.
Yeah, and it is kind of the same level. It's not, your brain never goes, it's just a pet, or I've had 5 dogs, or I've always had ferrets. Your brain doesn't really do that. It's just the amount that you were attached to that individual, and it hits you hard every time. There's not like levels. It's not like, oh, level 10 for person and level 1 for a ferret. It is just how connected you are. And I think if you can be kind of in denial about it, or if you don't grieve properly, almost, because I think there is you could probably rate how you grieve if you like, but if you don't channel it in the right way, then I think it does damage you. You have to kind of get it out, let it out, and be okay with that, not be in a denial state or try and rein it in desperately, trying to cover up. It's got to be kind of channeled in certain ways. Have you ever kind of felt like, after you've had like like, let's use Wolfgang for an example, because he was obviously, such a big personality in your life, do you find it difficult to then attach to a new animal? No,
not for me. I knew that I couldn't replace him, but I knew that I wanted another companion. And so I waited for the time I waited 2 months for my heart to heal, and that ended up being the perfect amount of time. Was it 2 months? Yeah, just over 2 months. And then I went to the local shelter and so my husband will only let me get cats, and that's totally fine. So we went to see all the cats, from the oldest one, and then we finally couldn't bond with any or felt a good gut feeling, and then went to the kitten room and found 2 sisters. So we brought them home, and there's an adjustment period for everyone, right? My husband and I getting to know their personalities, and them getting confident enough to come out of the closet. There's this long period, but now Vanilli Bear, who just came in and walked out, it has totally healed my heart, and I have a bond with her again, and it's great. It's not the same, and that's okay. I wouldn't call her my soul cat, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't need another one. I'm just feeling lucky that I had that experience. Maybe I'll have it again with another animal, but there's that old saying, it's better to love and lose than to not love at all.
Yeah, to have that deepness. Yeah, I think that is part of it. I think it is, you do have to kind of accept what kind of comes through the door to some extent, and not to compare, because there is that, and I think if you're lucky enough that like the first kind of type of animal that you own is like your soul animal, you might expect that from the next one, but it's not always like that. Like I had ferrets for 10 years, and the first one I ever had, he was my soul ferret, and then I had 15 after him, and they were lovely and stuff, but they never ever compared to him. And that was just who he was. He was just really cool, and we just sort of got along, if you like. Which is slightly strange because he is just a ferret.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I kind of grieved him a lot more than the others, and that was just always the way. And but with dogs, it's kind of been the other way around. Even though I've kind of chosen them, and again, I like rescue animals. And Sky, I could say she wasn't my soul dog. She was just a very special friend. The one I've got now is my soul dog, and I can't imagine the grief I'm going to have to go through with her. It's something that freaks me out, actually. And I think if she had like a freak accident, I would just like feel like the world would end. You know, at times in my life, it's less so now because she's 9, but my whole days have been revolved around her. Like when am I walking the dog? And it's like I'll change work plans, child plans, everything to walk the dog, or where are we walking because she's reactive. So it's all about her. To suddenly the idea of not having that, it just completely freaks me out. And I really hope that she just lives a really long time, so I've got time to kind of mentally prepare and adjust and put things in place, rather than like bang, there you go, your world is now this huge void that needs filling, but what with.
Yeah, and I think, well, to be honest, so Wolfgang was a replacement cat for one that I'd lost in January, Wolfgang in May. So I would we all talk to our pets, and I would kind of whisper to him, like, all right, dude, you got to live a really long time because you're the replacement for Michi, who got hit by a car right before we moved to Germany. And so, like, I know we're in an apartment now, but like one day I'll let you go outside and you can chase pigeons, but not where we're living. And so, I look at, I tried to make a pact with him and kind of like set a deal. Yeah, it's an animal, but this is true. This is what I did. So when he died suddenly, I went, wait a minute, this wasn't supposed to happen. What is going on? Like, is this for real? So now I know that, yeah, unfortunately, this could happen again any day. I mean, there are no guarantees, right? And these are important lessons for us to learn as humans, that like our lives are precious and every day is a gift. So there are good things we learn out of it. But I wanted to say, with my other cats, now I have 3, I've got a plan. I know that I want them cremated. I know that I want their ashes. I know that I want their paw prints and nose prints. And so to have some kind of strategic plan in place with basic questions you can answer, even if Vanilli were to get sick with cancer and they told me she's got 2 weeks to go, what would I want to do with that time? So there's some really basic things I think we all need to answer and be brave to face, because we will have to come to these choices one day. We don't know when they are. And beyond that, if you're not ready to make a plan beyond that and like have your, pet loss counselor on speed dial, like saved in your phone, then bookmark wolfieswish.com. So it's a place you can go in crisis and find what you need. And if not, fill out the contact form, let me know, and I will personally see to it that you find some kind of help. And I have to say, if anybody is having thoughts of self-harm, please call 911 or your local emergency, or call a crisis hotline, because that's not what I do. And I am not a pet loss counselor. I'm a human being who decided to do something to help other people and connect them with those professionals. So I have to say that as a disclaimer. Please don't call me with, suicide threats or anything like that, because I will just refer you to professional services. And I know that's an extreme, but it happens. And I talk about it because it happens, and people are ashamed and afraid to admit that they're going there. Yet it is completely normal.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's talk about kind of what products you have got on the site then. So we've spoken about the print offs that you can do, which people can do immediately, which I think is brilliant, because even when you kind of buy stuff online, like my little dog, I had to wait so long, and it felt too long, really. I wanted something immediately, so I think that's really good that you can just have that immediately, and write the letter or write your memories, and that's great. But let's talk about kind of like what products are on your site. What's kind of like the most popular bar the print offs? What's the most popular?
Okay, well, thank you. This is great, and it was just updated today, so I'm so excited to tell you that we now have. So the first product I made is something that I wanted and couldn't find. And are you familiar with affirmation cards?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so some people are, some people aren't. So affirmation cards are daily affirmations that you pull and read, either in random or in order, to just have something to focus on in the moment or during the day. And I wanted something that would walk me through the steps of pet loss grief in a healthy way, knowing that I would eventually come out healed. So I wrote my own and I made up my own. And when I started sharing these with my mom and friends and family, they were like writing $500 checks. Be like, can't wait to see these printed and made. And I said, wait, no, I don't want to do that. These were for me. I don't have to do that. And I'm grieving, right? What are you doing? And literally, my mom convinced me to do it. So we printed these, put them into production, and that was just 24 months ago. Since then, we won an award as a Best New Product Award in the pet retail industry for those cards.
Wow.
And that was enough to tell me, okay, the universe is clearly making a path for me to walk down. I will continue. I don't know how. I don't know where it's going. I know what I want to do. So sorry, we're getting back to products. So that's how that started. And it's pretty exciting. So we now have a digital version of those that you can print out right away. Because like you said, and like I felt, I needed something immediately. I did not have time to wait for things to come in the mail. Yeah. I was in survival mode. So now, just today, we've offered those. And the affirmation cards I just mentioned, we have in 4 different formats. And those are now available worldwide as of today. So I'm so glad we're doing this podcast because I can finally say anyone can have these anywhere right away, which is pretty amazing. I've got a great team of people helping. So some of the other things we have are just sympathy note cards. So a lot of people say to me, Erica, I don't really want to give a gift, but I want to send a card. So we made those. Then we made pet portraiture. So you're into art, I'm into art. And during the pandemic, I started painting more. People wanted their pets done, and it became a thing. So we offered that. And then today I just added 2 really fun things, and I can't promise they'll be there indefinitely. It's kind of a test, but you can get like a custom plastic tumbler that I make with your pet's name on it that says forever in my heart. So there's a lot of t-shirts now that I just added that say stay positive with a PAW.
Yeah.
So just to try to think of things to encourage people to stay positive, to remember the joy, to have gratitude, and honor that special relationship. Like, how lucky are you and your listeners to have had a soul animal?
Yeah.
Focus on that.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, I really like the pet portrait ones. I think that they are very popular. It's just different from a photograph. It's just so much. There's always so much character within the dog, or sorry, pet. Sorry, it's because I'm always thinking about dogs. They're on the brain, but there's just so much. The colours really bring the animal to life, and it's just nice to have them around. Out of interest, how long does it take you to do a painting, or does it depend on size? Do you do different sizes for people?
Yeah, I've kind of I'll do any size and any medium, but for simplicity, I have on here 8x10 acrylic painting, which I can do in about 12 days and then send it right away. So I tell people you'll have it within a couple of weeks, unless I've got a big queue. They're going to go in order that they are received, but you will get it.
Yeah,
so
I think that's quite quick, to be honest, for something handmade. I think that's
I've got a little system down. I've got like my paint colors there. I know, I've got my canvases. Like, it's set up for production. It's not like I go to the store and buy one canvas and then No. We're ready to go like as soon as it comes in, and I love it. But I tell people I'm not going to send it to you unless I'm 100% loving it. So I've never had to maybe I have had to redo one just because I didn't love it. And so there's a communication. So I say, hey, here's what I've got. Do you love it? Do you want this now? Or, I'm feeling like I want to redo it. What do you think? it's a personal service.
Mm.
And if anybody is, giving me a hard time, I'm going to say, you know what, here's your money back. I'm not enjoying this. I'm doing this out of the love of my heart. And
Yeah,
I just
of course.
want people to know that. That's never happened. But I know Ladybug Art. Do you know that account on Instagram by any chance?
No, I don't actually.
She's been doing private portraits for like a decade, and she finally just announced, you know what, I've gotten some flack and I'm just going to take a break. And I thought, okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but it's good to know that could happen.
Yeah.
Everyone I've talked to and everyone I've interacted with has been a beautiful person. Even, I'm going to be honest, my mom and I do all the shipping, and we've lost some packages. That we're not perfect people, but everyone has been understanding. And then I like overnight one the next day if something went wrong. But now I'm really good at tracking everything and like checking it 3 times. But you have to live and learn.
Yeah, of course.
And I have no experience in running a business with merchandise.
Yeah.
Everyone has been a really, really beautiful customer, and I like to connect with the customers. So I wanted to extend that anybody listening can join our private Facebook group, which I run with 4 pet loss counselors. So you can really post whatever you want in there and get some feedback from professionals.
Wow, that's amazing.
We also just started today is our first virtual pet loss support group with one of those counselors. I'm not going to say what day it is because I don't know when you're going to release this, but you can sign up for that on our resources page. If you want specifically the pet loss group, there's a place for that. There's a contact form if you want to ask me a question. I'm on Instagram and I post a lot there. I also have a pet loss memorial once a month where I play the harp because that was my real job before I did this. So I play the harp and we honor our animals and put their names in the comments as I'm playing. It's beautiful.
That sounds really nice.
I try every day to wake up and think like, what gap can I fill today?
Yeah.
What can I do for other people today? And it's a gift that I was able to turn this horrible tragedy into something that not only helps myself, because I am a selfish person, like, let's be honest, I wanted these for myself, but it's been such a gift to give back and to find connection with people and see them on their healing journey. I just got a message today that the cards were so helpful to someone. And this was months ago, and they write back and they're like, oh, my friend just lost her pet and I got her a deck of your cards and I know they're going to help because they helped me. And so we're finally at that point where people are doing that. There was a question or period of time where my mom and I were like, is this a good idea? I don't know. What are we doing? We need feedback. So yeah, it's been a great journey.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. I love the way you kind of keep looking at different avenues and stuff. There's so many different things, that you've just spoken about where people can kind of go and reach out. I really like the harp thing because it's kind of no pressure. You can just like listen and almost like meditate to it, and then your animal's name's there to be remembered, and you can just meditate in that moment and listen to the, I imagine it's quite, peaceful, beautiful sounds, to be honest. So I really like that. The Facebook group's a really good one as well because I use that something else in my life. So I found groups helpful. And actually, when Sky did pass, I think I did it the night before because I just really needed some help, and I put it on the Greyhound chat, and everyone was so nice, and there was about 100 comments, and I read every single one, and it was just really nice. And I'd seen them before, and sometimes I'd comment, sometimes I wouldn't, but I didn't. It was really strange. I never really understood it until I did it, and even though I didn't know any of these people, just the feedback and the connection was amazing. Some people sent little poems, or they sent stories. Some people just said sorry for your loss, but I read all of them and they all helped me on that night, and then I could kind of prepare myself for the day to come, which was pretty horrendous as it always is. It wasn't for her, it was just peaceful, but for me it was horrendous, as it is losing someone. So I like the way you've got all these different kind of like branches of the tree. It's not just like, oh, buy a candle. It's, it's all these different kind of, and they're creative ways really. So they're where people can actively interact with people, which I think is important as well.
It is important for us to not feel alone. And I also had beautiful experiences like that on Facebook groups I think there's a Rainbow Bridge group that I found, and I remember laying in bed one night just aching, and I wrote in there, I'm not doing okay, and I don't really know what to do. And 183 people responded and just made me cry out of not feeling alone and feeling supported by people all over the world was enough to get me through that night. And that's what made me start my own group was, okay, I want to have more engagement with the people that come in. And so there's a couple of questions you have to answer and to be accepted, because there are public groups that you can post anything you want in. Ours is very much like, we don't judge people if they've lost a turtle. We're not going to say diminish that in any way. You know, there's some guidelines that
some rules, which
I
is
have
good.
in there, but for the most part, it's great. And people are posting things that are helpful, and the counselors are posting. So it's very active, and we're getting, I think, like 3 members a day. And so it's just growing really fast, which, you know, is great. And I encourage people to join all the ones you want. I'm so glad you had a Greyhound group and very specific. So just, you know, browse through the Facebook. It's super fun to find groups that you're interested in and join and have a sense of community. That's available 24/7, right? At no charge to us.
Yeah, I think that's really kind of what helps is at the end of the day, weirdly, it does come down to other people, that they help us through it in their interactions. Like you said, even when you do a painting, it's not just there's a painting, there you go. There's that connection, and that's what's healing, as well as kind of I've got this beautiful gift that I can honor. It's that interaction that kind of helps you heal, and you need to, like you said previously, you need to kind of find people like that. And if you've got people around you that aren't like that, or are kind of shaming you for it, you shouldn't be around them. That kind of thing's damaging. That repression, it's, you know,
or not around them right then. You know, it might be an extended family member that you have to see over the holidays, or it's just, surround yourself with people that are supportive and understand what you're going through for a while, and only those people, because you have to get all the help you can get. You've got to have every support that you can get. And, you know, I encourage people to go through pet loss sober, and not everyone can, and that's okay. But just think about support. What can you do to support yourself to get through it in a healthy way, right? And that's why it's good to, like, if people are going through anticipatory loss, like, you know that it's coming. How can you set yourself up for that? So you know, if you think about it, I like the phrase, you nursed your pet, so nurse yourself. And I'm putting together a grief first aid kit, and that's basically the slogan for it. It's like, hey, here's a little self-care box to get you started. You know, you deserve this, and you deserve time out. You deserve to say no to social engagements, take sick days from work, whatever you need to do. So it's going to have a booklet in there to talk about some of those things, and then a candle, of course, a mini deck of our greeting cards, and I hope to have that out in the middle of 2024.
Wow. So that's like a little pack you can get.
It's actually going to be a first aid kit. It's going to look like a first aid kit, and just working out the sizes right now and the quality. I want it to be awesome, that maybe it's something you re-gift someone else, right? You replenish the candle and you pass it on, but it's not a paper box that you can just discard. It's like an SOS. You know,
I really like that idea.
Making stuff that I wanted and didn't have accessible, and that also shows, and I'm not doing it in a humorous way, it's showing how severe pet loss grief is. It's like you need a first aid kit.
I like that. I really like that kind of analogy, and that's sweet that it comes with the little things, you know, so it's not just one thing. It's you need all the different things to heal yourself. It's not one dimensional grief. It is complicated, isn't it? Okay, thank you, Erica. Is there anything you'd like to add to this last bit? Anything that you really want to burning to talk about?
Oh gosh, thank you. I think just really, I want to extend an open invitation to go to our website and find some resources that work, you know, for your listeners. And then if someone's listening and they're going to need to support someone that's going through pet loss grief, also head over there. We've got a blog on what to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It's just real simple. Basically asking your friends, family, and colleagues, what kind of support do you need, and how can I get it for you? Is it me just taking some chores away from you? Can I bring you food? Can I just talk to you? Do you want me to find a pet loss counselor for you? Like, just have a conversation. It's not complicated, and it's really needed. And those people will treasure you and remember you forever for caring to that level.
Yeah, no, I think that's really helpful. It's good that you've got that from kind of both sides on the website, like the griever and someone trying to help the griever. Yeah, it's a brilliant resource. Great. Well, thank you for kind of having this chat, and even I, it's expanded my mind on grief, really, and how to process it and things. It's really inspiring, actually, all the things that you've done, all the different avenues, and yeah, congratulations on your award as well, of course. That's
yeah. Thank you. And you asked such great questions. Thank you for bringing this topic up on your show and devoting an episode to it. And again, I'm sorry for your loss of Sky, but we all go through it. We all have to experience that. Whether it's a pet or loved one, it's just part of life.
It is part of normal life. Yeah, exactly. And it is, like you said, it's important to let people know it's part of normal life. It's not just all the good bit. It's the sad bit, and we have to go through it, and it is uncomfortable. And then at some point you do come out the other end. It's not, the world doesn't end. You will heal if you're allowed to heal, if you're allowed that. But yeah.
And it takes guts. It's not an easy thing to go through. You've got to really commit to it and be brave it feels like walking through fire. But once you've gone through it, then you're okay. Closing a door on a fire is only going to make things smolder, and then you can't open that door. So I think for people to find the support that they need so they can go through that is really important.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And yeah, hopefully we will speak to you again. If you're interested in more videos or stuff that I do, I am on TikTok. I usually put my TikTok videos also on Facebook and Instagram, so just search Fawn Dog for those. And the main website is fawndog1to1dogtraining.co.uk. Thanks for listening, guys.